Orale, welcome back to another episode of Real Bad Advice. Today I want to talk to you about what it was like for me to choose this field and to find my passion for photography and film work. When I was a kid, my grandpa had a flip phone that allowed you to record videos, and we got that, took his phone and went wild. I'm talking about we immediately ran into my bedroom, slammed the door, me and two friends, and just started making videos. Pause, no diddy, that sounds mad weird. We started making videos, and I think the first one we made with my grandpa's flip phone was shaving off my bro Joe's eyebrows. Literally shaved them off, recorded, and thought, oh, this is dope. And I don't know if there was a YouTube at the time, we just kept it on the phone, but his mother was pretty upset and angry. We were probably 13, 14 around the time. She was upset that her baby's eyebrows had been cut off randomly and she had no idea. So the first video we ever made was shaving off my bro's eyebrows. I appreciate him for helping to spark the craft and the creative that I am today. So thank you, Joe. And thank you for your eyebrow sacrifice. So after that, my pops bought this Kodak camera. We then took it, me and a group of friends, and started making videos in the park of us fighting. I started filming videos in my middle school of us acting and things like that. And it started to snowball, and I'm like, this is something I can have fun with, but I never saw it as a viable career. When I grew up, I was like, I wanted to be a profiler. I was watching Criminal Minds at the time, and I thought that was like a legitimate job that I could have as a high schooler. Of course, I couldn't, but it seemed super dope to me. So I'm making videos with my friends with this little Kodak, and it's sparking the passion, and we're having fun, and we're just creating just to create, and didn't even think about the monetary value that could come with it. And then I got to high school, and I joined an organization called Youth in Government. Basically, you and a group of other students go to a regional meet in Dallas and a state meet in Austin, Texas. And the way they got me to sign up for it was they're like, hey, do you want to get a free weekend away in Austin? I was like, for sure, of course. I'm from a small town where you do absolutely nothing. Less than 20,000 people at the time when I was growing up, and it's still probably less than that now, so itty bitty town. So any chance I got to leave the city, I was down 100%. So I joined Youth in Government. While in Youth in Government, the department that I joined was the media department. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd only played with this Kodak and a little flip phone that my grandpa had. So I get there and they say, here, take this DSLR camera and go make commercials with it. I was like, huh? Go do what? They said, you got it. I was like, all right. So I run around and start making all these funny videos, recording people doing random interviews. I can't remember what those videos were, but I'm sure they were terrible. And I give them back to the guy who's overseeing the department. And at the end of it, we go to this award ceremony and they call my name up there, and I got the highest award there for media and had no idea what I was doing. I get back home to my high school, and my high school football coach is like, oh, you got this award? You must be great with cameras. So he hired me to film for the football team. I didn't quit basketball, which I was not great at. I was a bench warmer, if we're being honest, but I had fire shoes. So my kick game was insane. That's all I got to say about that. But I quit basketball to film for the football team, and that was a dope experience in itself. Traveled around with the football team, didn't have to play. I got to relax. I filmed practices, and he paid me to film practices and to film the games. So I was making a check, and I was young. I was having a good time. Like, okay, there might be some money in this. This is cool. And then my mentor now, Lee Lovelace, he came to me and said, oh, you got this award, you must be good with cameras. And he hired me to start taking pictures and to run a photo booth at weddings. Basically, I would come out to weddings. Him and his wife did the photography. Ms. Lovelace, I call her my mom's. Him and mom's did the photography at the weddings, and I would just do the photo booth. So I set up my little props, set up the computer, set up the camera on the tripod. It was like a Nikon D7000, I think, with a 16 millimeter Vivitar mechanical lens. I never forget because I love this setup. And we had two strobes, and they all tethered together to an old school printer that would spit out 5x7s like that, like it was nothing. People would come in, grab their props, take a picture. I print it, hand it to them, they go on about their way. Sometimes they were a little drunker than most, so it was a lot harder to get them out, but it taught me how to deal with people. And I got paid for that. So I got paid to film the football team, and I got paid to run this photo booth. It was like, there might be money in this industry, and I have fun doing this. And then as time progressed, he showed me how to shoot other things like baseball, headshots, and other photo session things and ways to make money. And then eventually he invested in the video camera and let me oversee the video department of his business. And I was still in high school just learning the craft. And then I realized I can make an actual career out of this. So at that time, I didn't think there was any real money in it, but I knew I could make some money and I could make a living for myself. So I decided that I was going to pursue media in college. So I applied for several schools and ended up going to Sam Houston State University. And I studied broadcast production. That's what my first degree is in. I went to college with 2 years of college done because I was in an early college high school program. So I was able to pretty much finish my bachelor's in 2 years. In those 2 years, I worked for the student newspaper. I worked as a videographer for the football team, traveled around, filmed them, convinced coach to let me make a documentary. That was my first documentary. I started working with Fox Sports as a highlight editor, and then I think eventually virtual signage operator there in Brand Brigade as well at Fox Sports. And then after I graduated from Sam Houston with my bachelor's, I then applied for my master's in digital media studies. And while studying for my master's, I was working at Fox Sports as a master control operator. Basically, if you're ever watching a live event, we're the ones controlling the game and setting up the programming, taking you to break, bringing you back from break. I was sitting in a kodak room pressing buttons, basically. So I was doing that full time, working the night shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And I quickly realized that was not for me. I did that for about 7 months while being a full-time student, while also working part-time in Brand Brigade at Fox Sports. And when I tell you I was overwhelmed. So I ended up quitting my master control job because I realized that wasn't for me, continued to go to school, and I kept my part-time job in Brand Brigade. So I was able to juggle it decently well, because basically in our grad program, they had us reading a book a week. It was a nightmare and it was hellacious. And somehow I was doing that, working a full-time job, and I had a part-time with Fox as well. So it was a lot, but I made it through. Eventually I quit the master control job, kept the Brand Brigade job, graduated with my master's. After I graduated with my master's, I decided I'm going to go full-time into this industry and just shoot and figure it out and keep that part-time Brand Brigade job just to be safe. I didn't really make too much money at all when I first started in the full-time world, and it was a little rough, but I had Brand Brigade, which was paying me pretty well. Like, it paid me a decent amount for every game, so all my bills were paid. So I had the time to bump my head and to kind of figure out the business side of the production world. Eventually, my dean came to me from my bachelor's program and from my grad school. We got very close. We were pretty cool. And he came to me and said, "Hey, we have an open professor position. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Nah, that's not something I want to do." He was like, "Well, you should think about it." Mind you, at the time, I think I was 21. I was like, "I don't want to be a professor. That's stupid. Why would I do that?" And then my friend hit me and he was like, "Bro, you should probably take that job. It sounds like a great opportunity." I was like, let me think about it. And then Dean Badon called me one last time and he said, "If you take the job, you can use our equipment whenever you want to." Mind you, they had reds, tons of cinema lenses, all this extra gear that I couldn't afford. I was like, "You know what? I'll take the job. I'll do that." He said, "You little shit. You were just doing it for the equipment." I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, okay. So he hired me. I go for the interview process, and literally just me and him chopping it up in his office. Like, there wasn't a real interview process. He was like, "I trust you. I know you know your stuff. The job is yours." So I became a super young professor, and it was a wild experience teaching students who were the same age as me legitimately. And it was a good time. It was dope. So I became a professor for 2 years, and that income helped me to boost my business, and the time as a professor helped me to grow and expand my business. I did it during COVID time. So when COVID happened, we were all quarantined. I was still traveling and moving around and shooting and working with clients and teaching via Zoom. So it made my life easy and helped me to grow the business. And eventually I left the school and went full-time with Forever Real, and now we're here. All I do is travel from state to state, city to city, country to country, and produce commercials and cover events and create branded content for different companies. We work with major brands like Chick-fil-A, NFL Films, TEDx, and tons of other companies. And this is all we do. And it all started with my grandpa's flip phone and this little Kodak camera. And I thank my bro Joe for letting me shave off his eyebrows, because now we're here. Utterly. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of this Real Bad Advice. I truly appreciate you for your time, and y'all be safe out there. Utterly.